On July 13th, Archangel Michael just eliminated a snake from your life. He says a dark entity hath been draining your energy, but it's gone now. This isn't just a spiritual video, it's a powerful deliverance. Watch now to reclaim your peace and power. Demons fear this. On July 13th, a divine intervention occurred in silence, one so fierce and holy that even the darkest forces trembled. Archangel Michael, the warrior of heaven, descended not with thunder, but with authority, precision, and flame. You didn't see the war, but you felt the shift. The unexplained heaviness that had lived in your soul for weeks suddenly lifted. That sickening weight on your chest, the unexplained fatigue, the voices of doubt, they weren't just emotional struggles. They were spiritual assignments sent from something dark, parasitic, and intentional. And now it is no more. This is not just another prophetic video. This is your confirmation. The snake that slithered into your life, through someone's words, someone's betrayal, someone's presence, has been removed. Archangel Michael didn't negotiate. He cut it off. This was a spiritual elimination, a celestial execution of what was draining you without your full awareness. The spirit that fed off your joy, your dreams, your energy. It had overstayed its welcome. Heaven waited for your cry, and now it has responded. Why now? Because the timeline aligned. July 13th with a threshold. What once could hide in shadows can no longer survive in your light. The veil has lifted. The voice in your head that whispered you're not enough has been silenced. The fake friend, the jealous coworker, the toxic lover, they were vessels. The entity behind them vanished. This message was divinely timed to reach you, not before and not after. You were meant to watch this at this exact moment, because what is spoken from here forward will activate your healing, your reclaiming, and your spiritual resurrection. Here is something you must understand. This was not just a removal, it was a deliverance. You were not rescued, you were anointed. The divine realm is declaring you clean, elevated, and shielded. Archangel Michael has marked your atmosphere, and no demon dares to enter what he guards. You are entering a new realm of clarity and peace. You'll notice things, sudden bursts of joy, weight lifted, confusion gone. That is not random. That is what happens when the snake is slain, and the anointing falls. Now breathe deeply. You are not the same, and you must not go back to what once caged you. The rest of this message will unveil how the entity entered, how it hid in plain sight, how Michael uprooted it, and most importantly, how you must now walk in your new freedom. Let's begin. You are rising. It began in a whisper. Not with fangs, not with a hiss, but with soft suspicion. A look from someone close to you that suddenly didn't feel safe. A compliment that had a sting buried underneath. The snake didn't walk through your front door. It hid in plain sight, wearing the face of someone you trusted. It studied your habits, your pain, your light. It came for your peace quietly, because obvious evil is easy to resist, but subtle spirits slither beneath notice. And while you continued loving, giving, and trusting, it slowly started to feed. It fed on your silence. It fed on your compassion. It used people you thought were allies, jealous friends, bitter family members, envious coworkers, as hosts. They weren't evil, but they were open. That's how it entered, through invitation you didn't even know you extended. It used their insecurities to build a bridge to your atmosphere. And once it crossed, it didn't attack with violence. It drained with strategy. It altered your thoughts, twisted your emotions, planted confusion. and you kept thinking it was just life being heavy. But spiritually, you were being targeted. Type I'm rising to get the blessing 4896. You began to question yourself more. Opportunities that should have been easy started slipping through your hands. You were exhausted all the time, even after sleep. Conversations drained you. Simple decisions became difficult. These were not emotional patterns, they were spiritual symptoms. The snake was not attacking your body, it was disrupting your alignment. It wanted your delay. It wanted you distracted, doubtful, discouraged. It wanted to make you think your calling was too hard, too distant, too much. Because if it could keep you confused, it could keep you contained. But it underestimated one thing: your connection to the divine. Heaven watches the cries of the chosen. And even when you didn't speak it out loud, the pain in your spirit was echoing in the heavens. Archangel Michael stood on guard, sword drawn, waiting for divine timing. Because every serpent has an expiration. It can only drain for so long before divine justice responds. And on July 13th, justice arrived. Michael didn't warn. He didn't speak. He struck. What was draining you in the dark was confronted in the light. And when he drew his blade, it was final. I'm anointed to get blessing 9999. You didn't imagine that shift in the room when you woke up. You didn't imagine that moment when your thoughts suddenly cleared. That's what deliverance feels like. You were unbound in your sleep. Not by chance, but by command. What was sent to destroy you has now been reversed. The poison has lost its host. The spiritual assignment has been cancelled. The leech has lost its grip. You may still see the faces it used, but you'll no longer feel the influence behind them. The air is clean now. The atmosphere around you is different. Understand this. Every snake rides the breath of someone else. But once the spirit is removed, the person's power over you ends. That's why you must guard your space differently now. The elimination was divine, but the maintenance is up to you. Do not allow re-entry out of guilt, nostalgia, or fear. What left was not random. What fell away was not a loss. It was heaven's upgrade. And the energy that was once stolen from you is now returning in waves. You will feel yourself stabilize again, find clarity again, dream again. This is just the beginning. The removal of the snake is not just about protection. It's about preparation. What's coming next requires your full strength, and that's why the draining spirit had to be destroyed. You have been cleared for spiritual elevation. And as we continue, you'll begin to understand how deeply this force tried to sabotage your future, and how divinely Archangel Michael restored what was lost. Stay with this message. The next revelation will show you how the energy was stolen, and how heaven is now returning it multiplied. Type I am victorious to get the blessing 7210. The signs were there, but you were too faithful to see them. Too forgiving. You hopeful. You kept brushing off the patterns, telling yourself people were just going through something. But your spirit knew. You'd feel fine 1 minute, then drain the next after certain phone calls, after spending time with certain people. You blamed it on stress. You rationalized it away. But your discernment was screaming. This was not a natural tiredness, it was spiritual depletion. The snake slithered in with familiar eyes, using sympathy as a mask to hide its venom. It wasn't the loud conflict that hurt you most. It was the subtle patterns. How your creativity slowed down. How you started second-guessing your instincts. How your sleep became restless and your mornings began with dread. That was the evidence. The slow erosion of your inner fire. Spirits don't always possess, they suppress. They sit quietly in your orbit, dimming your vision, whispering lies, delaying your decisions. The snake's goal was to make you numb, to shrink you spiritually before you could rise into your full voice. Type I'm rising to get the blessing 5482. You thought, maybe I'm the problem. That was its favorite tactic. Self-thou. You kept apologizing for things you didn't cause. You kept over-explaining yourself, giving people access out of guilt. It made you tolerate energy that felt off. It tricked you into holding on to relationships that were already rotting. These weren't ordinary friendships or partnerships. They were spiritual openings the enemy used to latch onto your atmosphere. Your peace wasn't just fading, it was being stolen. And every time you tried to set boundaries, confusion clouded your clarity. But confusion is a sign. The spirit of confusion is never from God. Archangel Michael was watching how far it spread, how long you'd tolerate the imbalance, how deeply this spiritual parasite had embedded itself into your routines, your thoughts, your connections. And heaven decided the time was up. On July 13th, a silent war ended in a violent victory. What you couldn't identify, Michael did. What you were too drained to confront, heaven confronted for you. That's why your atmosphere shifted. That's why your soul began to breathe again. Type I am anointed to get blessing 6721. The removal happened suddenly, but the effects will unfold gradually. You'll begin to feel lighter, laugh louder, sleep deeper. You'll notice that people who once constantly reached for your energy will go quiet or fall away. Don't chase after them. That's the snake trying to crawl back in through guilt. Let it fall. Let it fade. Heaven is protecting you through disconnection. You'll also start attracting peace again. New ideas will flood back. Opportunities will return. That's because what blocked them is no longer attached to you. Do not grieve the loss of what was secretly draining you. That's one of the enemy's vile tricks, convincing you to mourn the spirit you were delivered from. But heaven doesn't remove without replacing. The clarity returning to you now is sacred. Honor it. Protect it. Pay attention to how your body responds around people. Your spirit discerns what your logic can't. You're not being sensitive. You're being spiritually accurate. And that awareness is your new armor. Walk with it boldly. Guard your peace like it's treasure. You are stepping into spiritual precision now. The fog is lifting because the force behind the fog is gone. You were never weak. You were never crazy. You were under attack. But now, you're under divine recovery. Michael has cleared the space, and heaven has sealed the breach. You're not just healed, you're protected. And what happens next is not just recovery, it's elevation. In the next part, we will reveal what was stolen during this draining season, and how the divine is about to return it in overflow. Get ready. The reversal has already begun. If this message is piercing your spirit and helping you step into divine truth, consider giving a super chat or super thanks today. Your support of $20 helps us continue creating powerful, prophetic messages like this one. We are grateful for every seed you sow. Also, if you'd like to support what we do, you can make a difference by donating via PayPal using the support here link in the description of this video. Every contribution helps us keep creating and sharing more with you. And be sure to subscribe to this channel if you haven't yet. You'll receive regular prophetic guidance, exclusive content, and spiritual tools to keep you aligned with your divine path. Type I am restored to get the blessing 8344. Every draining spirit comes to rob, Not always in ways you can measure with money, but in ways that deplete the foundation of who you are. It robs time. It robs joy. It sabotages focus. And worst of all, it delays purpose. The snake that was eliminated from your life didn't just make you tired. It altered your alignment. You began settling for less. You stopped praying with fire. You postponed decisions, thinking now's not the time. That wasn't wisdom. It was interference. And every delay cost you something in the spiritual realm. What you lost was not small. You lost momentum. You lost divine timing. You lost golden moments of peace, confidence, and divine flow. You'd wake up determined, but by noon you were questioning yourself. You'd try to create, but inspiration would vanish. These are not coincidences. They are coordinated attacks. While the snake fed on your energy, your spiritual inheritance was placed on pause. Not stolen forever, but delayed. Because God in His mercy does not cancel destiny. He preserves it until you're free enough to receive it again. Type I'm rising to get the blessing 7620. The enemy thought if it could distract you long enough, it could grow out your future. But what God ordains cannot be erased, only delayed. And now that Michael has intervened, the vaults of heaven are reopening. The divine clock is being reset. You will feel opportunities that once disappeared start circling back. Conversations you thought were forgotten will revive. People who shut doors in your face will reach out again. And it won't be because they changed. It will be because heaven has reactivated your name in places where it had been silenced. You'll also see new alignments. People who speak your spiritual language. People who respect your energy. People who push you toward purpose without draining your soul. These are divine replacements. You are being aligned now with divine timing and healthy access. But here's the key. You must not sabotage this return by going back to what broke you. What was stolen is being restored, but only if the space is kept clean. That means cutting soul ties. That means unlearning old patterns. That means walking as someone who has been rescued. Type I am anointed to get blessing 6188. You are about to witness recovery in strange ways. A lost idea will suddenly resurface with clarity. A delayed opportunity will reappear with better terms. A passion you thought had died will burn again. That's what spiritual return looks like. It comes with confirmation and expansion. You'll do less, but get more done. You will say less, but your words will carry greater weight. That's what happens when your soul is no longer bleeding energy into things that were never meant to hold you. Recovery is not just healing. It's restoration with interest. You may begin to feel emotional unexpectedly. Let it come. Those tears are not weakness. They are the release of what was held hostage in your spirit. Every suppressed emotion that you couldn't feel while you were surviving is now rising to the surface. This is the clearing. This is where you regain emotional clarity, spiritual sensitivity, and divine confidence. Don't resist it. This is not a breakdown. It's the final residue of the draining spirit leaving your system. Cry if you need. Breathe deeply. Your soul is resetting. What was stolen is being returned in waves, and each wave will carry more than the last. Because heaven doesn't return what was taken. It multiplies it. You're not going back to who you were before this attack. You're moving forward as someone who now carries wisdom, discernment, and divine fire. The draining season did not break you. It built you. And now you walk with angelic backing and heavenly credit. In the next part, you will see how the snake manipulated your identity and how God is restoring not just what you do, but who you are. Stay tuned. The truth is still unfolding. Type I am restored to get the blessing 9053. The most dangerous part of the snake's attack wasn't the delay, it was a distortion. This spirit didn't just want to exhaust you. It wanted to reprogram you. It wanted you to forget who you were before the confusion. Its goal was to twist your image of yourself until your reflection became unfamiliar. You started questioning your worth, your purpose, your instincts. You began shrinking yourself to stay acceptable to others who were secretly offended by your light. You dulled your voice, softened your vision, and allowed spiritual manipulation to pass as keeping peace. This was not humility. This was spiritual warfare disguised as compromise. You weren't just making room for others, you were abandoning yourself. The snake loved this, because the more you questioned who you were, the more influence it gained over your narrative. It whispered that you were too emotional, too much, not enough. It mirrored the voice of past rejection so you wouldn't recognize it was demonic. And slowly, piece by piece, your confidence began to fade. But even while you forgot who you were, heaven never did. Type I am rising to get the blessing 7934. Archangel Michael never lost sight of your name. The enemy may have distorted your perception, but it couldn't touch your divine identity. Your crown may have tilted, but it was never removed. God watched how you kept showing up despite the inner war, how you encouraged others while barely holding yourself together, how you pushed forward, even when everything in you was collapsing. Heaven took notice. And when the day of justice came, the sword of Michael didn't just sever the snake, it shattered the lies it planted inside your mind. That's why things feel different now. Because the confusion isn't just gone, it's been rebuked. The shame is lifting. The guilt is breaking. You're beginning to hear yourself again, clearly, fully, without distortion. You're beginning to dream without doubting. Speak without shrinking. This is what it means to rise after spiritual suppression. This is what identity reclamation looks like. And it doesn't happen through logic. It happens through divine healing. The snake targeted your confidence because it knew your voice was dangerous. But it failed. And now heaven is rebuilding what hell tried to erase. Type I am anointed to get blessing 5520. There's a fire returning to your personality. You may feel bolder. You may start saying no more quickly. You may begin to walk away from conversations, places, and people that once consumed you. This is not you being rude. This is you remembering. You're remembering your worth. You're remembering your calling. You're remembering that not everyone deserves access to your presence. This clarity will offend some. Let it. Your discomfort is not your assignment. Your alignment is. You no longer owe your energy to those who only valued your silence. As your identity stabilizes, you'll begin to notice how many situations you tolerated just to be liked. That ends now. God is reintroducing you to yourself. The you before the trauma. Before the false guilt. Before the draining connections. The real you. The called you. The fire-carrying you. You'll laugh and not overthink it. You'll walk into rooms and not shrink. You'll take up space and feel no shame about it. That's not arrogance. It's restoration. The snake had a hold on your self-image, but heaven has ripped that image down and is giving you a mirror of truth. This restoration of identity isn't temporary. It's eternal. You are now walking as someone who has been spiritually redefined by fire. And with every step, you'll carry less of who the world told you to be and more of who God designed you to become. The snake attacked your name, but heaven sealed it. The snake twisted your mind, but Michael restored it. The snake silenced your spirit, but now your roar is returning. In the next part, we will expose the generational patterns the snake used to sneak in, and how you are the one breaking them forever. Type I am whole to get the blessing 6247. Some attacks don't begin with you, they begin before you. The snake that was just eliminated didn't only target your present life, it studied your bloodline. It followed the patterns, the traumas, the open doors left unsealed by generations before you. It crept in through repeated pain, abandonment, rejection, addiction, emotional silence. These cycles weren't just bad habits, they were spiritual footholds. You've likely asked yourself, why do I keep attracting the same kind of pain? It's because the snake was familiar, not just with your story, but with your ancestry. Your bloodline was an unguarded vault, until now. The snake used generational soul ties, spiritual residue, and inherited wounds to find its way in. What your mother endured but never healed, what your father struggled with but never spoke of, it became invisible wiring in your emotional system. And the spirit manipulated those emotional vulnerabilities. It's why the pain felt so personal, because it was built on a foundation that predated you. But here's the truth, what ran through your family ends with you. You're not cursed. You're chosen to cancel it. Type I am rising to get the blessing 7801. You may have noticed that your struggle felt eerily similar to what your parents or grandparents went through. Failed relationships, sudden poverty, shame that lingered, depression that was never treated, just tolerated. These were not just family issues, they were spiritual patterns. The snake didn't create them, it exploited them. It twisted the trauma into identity and made you think it was yours to carry. That's how these entities operate. They feed off unspoken pain and pretend it's personality. But Archangel Michael saw it. And on July 13th, he cut through what others couldn't. He didn't just remove a spirit from your life, he interrupted a generational system. His sword didn't stop at your door, it swept through the bloodline. Deliverance is never isolated. When you rise, everything connected to you must shift. Your healing echoes backward and forward. You are the break in the chain. You are the curse cutter. You are the first to say, "This ends with me." And heaven is backing you. You're not doing this with willpower. You're doing it with divine reinforcement. You're not just surviving. You're eroding legacy. Type I am anointed to get blessing 6440. It's why you felt different your whole life. Set apart. Misunderstood. Even in childhood, you sensed there was something heavy in the atmosphere. Something unsaid but always present. You were never crazy. You were always spiritually awake. You sensed the warfare before you had the language for it. That's why the enemy fought you early. That's why life tried to bury you in false identities. It didn't want you to wake up and realize you were the one. But here you are, awake, aware, and aligned. And now everything must shift because you have. You'll notice family members acting strangely, as if they can sense something has changed. That's because the spirit they were familiar with no longer has legal access to you. Don't be alarmed if you feel distant from old dynamics. A distance is divine. Don't chase it. Don't explain yourself. You've been repositioned by heaven. And what no one in your bloodline could confront, you just conquered. Your strength is not just for you. It's for your future children, your siblings, your lineage. You're building a new spiritual inheritance now. You may feel overwhelmed by the weight of it, But know this: you were chosen because you carried both the fire and the grace. You are the altar your ancestors prayed for. You are the answer to the groanings they never could name. You are the sword bearer. And what was rooted in pain is now being rewritten in power. Michael didn't just eliminate a snake, he elevated a legacy. And from this point forward, the bloodline bends toward blessing, not bondage. In the next part, we will uncover the reason this attack was timed and why now is the moment of release. Type I am redeemed to get the blessing 8922. The snake's strategy was never limited to draining your energy alone. It wanted to isolate you, because isolation creates vulnerability. It distanced you from the ones who truly loved you. It confused your discernment until you couldn't tell the difference between a safe soul and a silent assassin. The draining didn't just happen through circumstances. It happened through your relationships. The spirit knew if it could isolate you emotionally, it could increase your spiritual fatigue. And as your circle thinned, the pressure grew. You began to feel alone, even in rooms full of people. You questioned whether anyone truly understood you. Conversations became shallow. The people you once leaned on became unavailable. You felt unseen, unsupported, unprotected. That was not just social change, it was spiritual sabotage. The snake slithered into your inner circle and began sowing offense, confusion, misunderstanding. It weaponized silence. It magnified miscommunication. It created gaps that felt unrepairable. And while you wondered what went wrong, the spirit smiled in the shadows, because your isolation was its invitation to deepen the attack. Type I am rising to get the blessing 6881. It even made you suspicious of the ones sent to help you. The people God placed in your life to restore and refresh you suddenly seemed threatening. You pulled away. You stopped opening up. You began to rely only on yourself, not out of strength, but survival. But with the goal to make you think you couldn't trust anyone, to train your heart to expect disappointment, to sabotage covenant-level relationships with demon-fueled assumptions. And slowly, your circle crumbled. Not because everyone changed, but because spiritual interference rewrote the script. But what was manipulated is now being corrected. Heaven has intervened. Archangel Michael severed the cords of deception. The spirit that distorted your perception of people has been removed. The fog is lifting. The guilt is dissolving. The conversations you thought were lost forever may find new life. And those who were always meant to walk beside you will begin to reappear. Not all will return, but the right ones will. Because now, your atmosphere is pure enough to recognize truth again. Your discernment is no longer under siege. Type I am anointed to get blessing 7444. You'll notice it in divine reconnections, in people reaching out unexpectedly, in apologies you never asked for, and clarity about relationships you once mourned. The enemy's goal was to make you believe you had to go alone, but God never intended for your journey to be isolated. Community is part of your calling, but this time, your community will be heaven assigned. This time, your circle will not just be warm bodies, it will be burning spirits, aligned with your destiny. God is not just restoring connection, He's upgrading it. You will also begin to release people with peace. Not everyone who left was sent by darkness, but not everyone was meant to stay either. Some exits were divine. Some disconnections were protection. And now that the snake has been exposed, you can grieve with clarity. You can forgive without reopening doors. You can love from a distance without feeling guilt. Because the snake no longer whispers confusion into your relationships. You now walk in relational purity, and that clarity is a gift worth protecting. From this point forward, divine connections will begin to appear with speed and ease. People who pray with power, people who love without envy, people who carry light without competing. That is your tribe. You were never meant to walk this path alone. The snake tried to sever the lifelines of connection, but heaven is restoring them, stronger, deeper, wiser. In the next part, we will reveal how your spiritual gifts were dulled during this season, and how Archangel Michael is activating your prophetic power again. Your gifts are waking up. If this message is piercing your spirit and helping you step into divine truth, consider giving a super chat or super thanks today. Your support of $20 helps us continue creating powerful, prophetic messages like this one. We are grateful for every seed you sow. Also, if you'd like to support what we do, you can make a difference by donating via PayPal using the support here link in the description of this video. Every contribution helps us keep creating and sharing more with you. And be sure to subscribe to this channel if you haven't yet. You'll receive regular prophetic guidance, exclusive content, and spiritual tools to keep you aligned with your divine path. Type I am realigned to get the blessing 8820. The enemy feared your voice, but it was your spiritual gifts that terrified him the most. Your discernment, your intuition, your prophetic sensitivity. These were not talents, they were divine weapons. But during the draining season, those gifts began to feel distant. You started doubting your instincts. You stopped trusting the nudges in your spirit. The snake knew it couldn't remove your calling, so it attacked your clarity. It wrapped itself around your senses until you couldn't tell whether your feelings were faith or fear. And slowly, your gifts dulled, not because they left, but because they were buried under exhaustion. The dreams that once warned you began to vanish. The visions blurred. The inner voice that used to thunder now whispered so softly you thought it was gone. This was no accident. This was calculated interference. The snake released confusion to disorient your spiritual antenna. You couldn't pray with power because your atmosphere was compromised. The draining wasn't just physical, it was prophetic. The goal was to convince you that your spiritual edge was lost. But heaven never removed your mental. Your gifts were not stolen, they were silence. Type I am rising to get the blessing 7157. Archangel Michael didn't just remove the snake, he broke the spiritual muslin off your gifts. On July 13th, when the atmosphere shifted, your spirit felt it before your mind understood it. That sudden desire to pray again, that spontaneous worship, that chill on your skin during silence. That wasn't nostalgia, that was activation. The gifts are returning. The sight is sharpening. The voice within is rising. And this time, it's not just returning to where it was, it's advancing. It has gifts refined and warfare carry more weight, more clarity, more fire. You'll notice this in how you speak now. People will feel something when you talk, not just hear your words. You'll walk into rooms, and the atmosphere will adjust to your presence. That's not pride. That's anointing. Your words will start flowing again. Poetry, prayer, teaching, insight. What once took you hours to articulate will now pour out like a flood. Because the blockage has been removed. The channel is open. The gift has been unwrapped. You are no longer second-guessing your spiritual authority. You are stepping fully into it. Type I am anointed to get blessing 6023. Be ready for dreams to intensify. Some will bring answers. Others will bring warning. Some will feel like prophecy. Others will be deliverance in disguise. Keep a journal near. Don't dismiss the visions. Don't overanalyze them either. Your spirit will begin to speak even when your mind is quiet. That's how God is rebuilding your language with heaven. You'll also feel a new boldness when you speak, because this gift is not for entertainment. It's for deliverance. You've been entrusted with revelation for those around you. Handle it with honor, not hesitation. You'll notice resistance too. Not everyone will celebrate your awakening. Some will be irritated by your clarity. That's because your gift exposes what they wanted to keep hidden. Your presence will become a mirror. Don't shrink. Don't apologize. You were not anointed to blend in. You were marked to stand out. The enemy feared this moment. When your spirit would rise, your voice would return, and your gifts would ignite. And now that it's here, hell is nervous, but heaven is rejoicing. You're no longer dimming the light that was meant to break chains. The snake's greatest failure was thinking it could kill what God authored. Your gifts were never broken, just buried. But now they are rising with new force, with accuracy, with purity, with power. You'll move differently from here. Not louder, but deeper. Not faster, but sharper. In the next part, we will confront how the snake attacked your self-worth through emotional exhaustion, and how your value is now being reaffirmed by heaven itself. What the world couldn't see in you, heaven is about to showcase through you. You are ready. Type I am awakened to get the blessing 8772. One of the most vicious tactics of the snake was to attack your sense of worth through exhaustion. It wore you down emotionally, not by breaking you in one blow, but by draining you drop by drop. You kept showing up for others while silently falling apart. You gave everything and received so little back. You smiled even when you were sinking. This was not just burnout. It was a slow assassination of your self-esteem. The snake wanted to tie your value to what you could do for others, so when your strength ran low, you'd begin to question your significance. It whispered lies into the spaces where you needed comfort. You're not doing enough. You're too sensitive. You're the problem. And you believed them, not because they were loud, but because you were too tired to fight them off. Exhaustion with a gateway. Once you were tired enough, the lies made sense. You stopped asking for help. You stopped trusting your worth. You started measuring your value by the reactions of people who never truly saw you. The snake didn't want to destroy your body. It wanted to fracture your identity from the inside out. Type I am rising to get the blessing 6630. But heaven never agreed with that verdict. Archangel Michael did not watch you suffer in silence without preparing your restoration. When the final attack came, and your spirit was almost too weak to cry out, heaven heard even your silence. On July 13th, the sword of divine reversal was drawn, not only to remove the spirit that drained you, but to restore the value you forgot you carried. You are not your output. You are not your performance. You are not your past. Your worth was set before you ever proved yourself to anyone. That's why the weight lifted so suddenly. That's why your tears started to make sense again. That's why your emotions feel sharper now. Heaven is resensitizing you to yourself. You are being reminded that rest is not laziness. Boundaries are not selfish. Silence is not weakness. You are allowed to exist without explaining. You are worthy without producing. You are valuable without proving. The exhaustion is breaking, and with it, the old belief that you had to earn love by overextending yourself for those who never poured back. Type I am anointed to get blessing 7295. You'll begin to feel peace in your body again. Not just mental peace, but cellular peace. Your body will no longer brace for tension that isn't there. Your spirit will no longer flinch at the thought of being misunderstood. That's deliverance. You are no longer surviving. You are healing. And with healing comes clarity. You'll recognize who was draining you, not just emotionally, but spiritually. You'll recognize how exhaustion was used as a smokescreen to distract you from your divine importance. But not anymore. Now you move with protection and peace. There will be moments when your mind tries to return to the old patterns, moments where guilt knocks because you chose yourself. Rejected. That guilt is not yours to carry. It's the residue of spiritual warfare. Every time you say no to something that dishonors your soul, you are saying yes to your healing. This is what restoration looks like. Quiet days, slow mornings, unapologetic peace. You'll learn how to rest without explaining it, how to receive without guilt, how to exist without performance. Your worth is redefined by heaven, not obligation. The snake attacked your value because it feared your voice. It wanted to wear you down until you forgot how powerful you truly are. But now, you are walking into a season where your identity is sealed, your worth is settled, and your rest is protected. You will no longer earn love, you will attract it through alignment. In the next part, we will uncover how the snake tried to block your financial flow, and how heaven is preparing an unexpected provision as evidence of your restoration. The drought is over. The gates are opening. Type I am worthy to get the blessing 8441. One of the final places the snake coiled itself was around your finances. Because the enemy knows, if he can restrict your flow, he can restrict your freedom. The spiritual battle was never just emotional. It was also economic. You worked hard, gave generously, planted seeds in good faith, yet the harvest never came the way it should have. Money slipped through your fingers. Opportunities dried up. Delays became normal. This wasn't a budgeting issue. It was a spiritual blockade, a demonic grip placed on the pipeline of provision meant to carry you forward. You began to live in survival mode, counting every coin, stretching every resource, second-guessing every investment. The stress weighed on your chest like a boulder, and the shame whispered alongside it, "You're irresponsible. You're cursed. You're always behind." But those were lies. The truth is, your finances were under spiritual warfare. The draining spirit didn't just want to exhaust your energy. It wanted to choke your abundance. And the worst part, it made you feel like you were the problem, when in fact, you were under attack. Type I am rising to get the blessing 6139. You gave even when you were running on empty. You tithed, you sowed, you served. But the snake was feeding on your generosity, contaminating the ground before the seed could take root. It created confusion about what was wise and what was wasteful. It lured you into dead-end agreements. It pushed you into connections that drained more than they returned. Your flow was never the issue. Your field was. You were watering land that had been spiritually poisoned. And while you waited on breakthrough, the enemy celebrated your spiritual dehydration. But God saw it all. Archangel Michael stood at the gate, sword ready. And on July 13th, when heaven declared it was time, the constriction was severed. The flow was reopened. The dam has broken in the spirit. What once trickled will now pour. What was once blocked will now burst forward. Provision is coming, not from the same place as you expected, but from divine detours. Heaven is about to surprise you with unexpected deposits. Financial favor is returning because the thief has been caught, and when the thief is caught, restoration must follow. Type I am anointed to get blessing 7860. Get ready to witness strange provision. Refunds you forgot about. Debts forgiven. Discounts appearing. Checks in the mail. Creative ideas that generate income you never imagined. Doors opening that were welded shut. This is not just money, it's movement. God is restoring not just your wallet, but your confidence in His ability to provide. You'll no longer live in panic. You'll no longer tithe in fear. You'll no longer be loyal to lack just because you were raised in it. This new financial season will feel unfamiliar because peace will replace pressure. But remember this, provision is connected to obedience. As the flow returns, so must your stewardship. Not everything that looks like a blessing is from heaven. You must discern the difference between distractions and divine deposits. Stay close to the voice of God. Listen for instructions even in small things. Where to give, where to pull back, where to invest. This isn't just financial recovery, it's prophetic re-education. You are learning how to flow without fear, to give without guilt, to build without begging. The constriction is over. The snake wanted to tie your hands by tightening your finances, but heaven has released your grip and restored your overflow. You will move through this next season with freedom, wisdom, and divine backing. No longer a slave to survival. No longer stuck in lack. You are stepping into prophetic provision, and your increase will reflect your healing. In the next part, we will expose how the snake tried to silence your prayer life, and how heaven is reigniting your spiritual fire with new power. Your voice is about to thunder again. If this message is piercing your spirit and helping you step into divine truth, consider giving a super chat or super thanks today. Your support of $20 helps us continue creating powerful, prophetic messages like this one. We are grateful for every seed you sow. Also, if you'd like to support what we do, you can make a difference by donating via PayPal using the support here link in the description of this video. Every contribution helps us keep creating and sharing more with you. And be sure to subscribe to this channel if you haven't yet. You'll receive regular prophetic guidance, exclusive content, and spiritual tools to keep you aligned with your divine path. Type I am provided for to get the blessing 8904. The snake's final move wasn't to take your body, your money, or your voice. It was to steal your connection to heaven. It targeted your prayer life with ruthless precision. Not by banning prayer altogether, but by making it feel empty. You'd try to pray, and the words would fall flat. You'd sit in silence, and your thoughts would wander. It wasn't laziness. It wasn't rebellion. It was a spiritual numbing. The enemy constricted your spirit so tightly that even lifting your voice to God felt like climbing a mountain. The snake's goal was disconnection. And yet, you kept trying. You whispered prayers even through clenched teeth. You played worship songs, hoping something would shift. But deep down, it felt like heaven had gone quiet. That was not divine silence. It was spiritual interference. The snake wrapped itself around your ability to feel God's nearness. It fed you the lie that God was disappointed in you, that He was done listening, that your voice no longer held weight. And the longer you believed it, the less you prayed. Not because you didn't want to, but because you didn't believe it mattered anymore. Type I am rising to get the blessing 6778. That lie was strategic, because the moment you stop praying, you stop hearing. And the moment you stop hearing, you stop walking in power. The snake didn't care if you still believe it. It just wanted your belief to become passive, dormant, lifeless. But even in the silence, heaven recorded every tear, every breath, every time you sat in stillness, longing for breakthrough. Archangel Michael did not miss your struggle. He stood between you and the spirit of suppression, waiting for the divine command to strike. And on July 13th, he did. That shift you felt was not imagined. The heavy fog lifted. The dullness in worship gone. The sudden desire to pray again, to intercede, to weep in the presence of God. That was the result of spiritual surgery. The serpent was pulled from your throat. Your voice is returning, not just in volume, but in authority. When you speak now, things will move. Atmospheres will change. Demons will tremble. Because this time, you are not praying from exhaustion. You are praying from alignment. You're not begging anymore. You're commanding from your seat in the Spirit. Type I'm anointed to get blessing 7556. Your prayer life will not look like it used to. It will carry new depth, fire, and revelation. Your worship will carry prophetic accuracy. Your declarations will echo with power. The snake tried to convince you that your voice had no weight. But now, heaven will back every word you release. You will prophesy in prayer. You will heal in silence. You will dismantle strongholds in worship. This is not emotional hype. This is spiritual jurisdiction. You are walking in restored communion, and that restoration is what the snake feared the most. You'll find yourself drawn into spontaneous prayer, waking up in the middle of the night with names on your heart, seeing visions while driving, getting clear answers while journaling. That's the gift of divine proximity. God is close again, not because he ever left, but because the fog that kept you distant has been lifted. You'll feel his presence in ordinary places. The veil has been torn. Your altar is active again. Heaven hears you clearly. And now you will begin to hear heaven with sharp, piercing clarity. The enemy underestimated what would happen when your voice returned. Your prayers are weapons now, sharper, louder, more effective. The snake thought you would stay numb, but heaven knew better. You are no longer praying just to survive. You are praying to shift dimensions. In the next part, we will uncover how this attack affected your future timeline, and how heaven is now accelerating divine promises that were paused during your spiritual suppression. Delays are breaking. Time is catching up. What was slowed is about to surge forward. Type I am ignited to get the blessing 8827. Time has been one of your greatest frustrations. You've looked back and wondered how so many months, maybe even years, seemed to vanish with little fruit to show for it. The snake didn't just drain your energy, it disrupted your rhythm. Your divine timeline was paused while your mind was clouded and your spirit was under siege. You missed moments. You pulled back from opportunities. You hesitated when you should have advanced. That wasn't a flaw in your character. That was spiritual interference. The spirit of delay was operating through your atmosphere, and you had no idea. But what you thought were wasted years were really hidden years. Heaven was preserving you even in pause. Archangel Michael was not only protecting your life, he was shielding your timeline until the atmosphere could be made right. On July 13th, when the dark presence was eliminated, divine acceleration was activated. What felt paused is now about to move with supernatural speed. You are not behind. You are right on time for what heaven has prepared. And now, the promises that were delayed are catching up to meet you with urgency. Type I'm rising to get the blessing 7933. This acceleration won't make sense in the natural. People will wonder how it's happening so fast. Outdoors are opening. how your voice is being heard, how your name is being spoken in places you've never even been. That's because delay was never your destiny. It was a detour caused by the serpent's assignment. But the detour is over. The air has shifted. And now, what should have taken years will happen in months. What should have taken months will happen in weeks. Heaven is compressing timelines to realign you with purpose. You'll see divine alignment in your calendar. Sudden invitations. Strategic meetings. Unexpected breakthroughs. Things you stopped praying for will appear. The relationships you needed will form. The ideas you shelved will resurrect. Because when God releases acceleration, it not only redeems time, it repositions you. You are not running after lost time. Time is now running to keep up with you. And as this movement begins, you must stay in sync with the Spirit. This is not the time to hesitate or overthink. This is the time to walk boldly into the yes of God. Type I am anointed to get blessing 8640. But acceleration requires awareness. You must discern which doors to walk through and which ones to close behind you. Not every open door is divine. Some are distractions dressed as opportunities. The snake's last attempt may come through rushed decisions and counterfeit connections. You must listen closely. Peace will be your confirmation. Rest will be your compass. If it feels first, it's I for you. If it aligns with your healing, it's from God. As heaven speeds up the timeline, your obedience must remain anchored in spiritual maturity. There will be days you feel overwhelmed, not from stress, but from sudden momentum. Don't confuse movement with chaos. Breathe. You've been prepared for this. The enemy delayed your journey long enough. Now, God is making up for it, not just by fast-forwarding events, but by fortifying your foundation. You will not move in rush, but in rhythm. You will not strive, you will glide. Because this acceleration is not man-made. It's supernatural. What used to take effort will now feel like ease. That's how you'll know it's Him. Every lost year, every dry season, every missed opportunity is now being touched by the hand of restoration. The snake had time under its control for a moment, but heaven has reclaimed the clock. You are not just catching up, you're being launched forward. And in the next part, we will prepare you for what's coming. Divine justice. Because what was done to you will not go unanswered. The final blow to the enemy's plan is not just deliverance, it's recompense. Get ready. God is not finished yet. Type I am accelerated to get the blessing 9201. Deliverance is powerful. Restoration is healing. What justice? Justice is holy. While the snake has been removed and the atmosphere purified, heaven has not forgotten what was done to you. The draining, the betrayal, the silent suffering, every tear you cried when no one saw, every night you went to bed wondering if God noticed. Heaven noticed. And divine justice is not just about vengeance, it's about correction, reordering, and public reversal. What the enemy did to silence you will now become the very thing God uses to showcase His favor upon you. God's justice is not loud, but it is thorough. He does not just restore what was taken. He exposes how it was taken and silences those who took it. The people who partnered with the snake knowingly or unknowingly will feel the hand of heaven pulling back from their lives. Not for your revenge, but for their awakening. There are consequences for touching the anointed. The spiritual interference that delayed your journey is now facing divine response. And it will not be hidden. Heaven is preparing a table for you, in full view of every voice that mocked your rising. Type I am rising to get the blessing 7333. Don't be surprised when people begin to apologize, or when you hear your name come up in places where it was once slandered. That's not a coincidence. That's divine order being reestablished. You were misjudged in one season, but in this next one, you'll be misunderstood for the right reasons, because of your favor. They won't be able to explain your acceleration. They'll wonder how someone who was counted out ended up at the front. It's not strategy. It's not connection. It's justice. Heaven is evening the scales in your favor. But justice doesn't only fall outward. It rises inward. God is also bringing justice to your soul. The part of you that was abandoned, overlooked, taken advantage of. He's restoring your dignity. You will no longer feel ashamed of how long it took. You'll no longer blame yourself for how deeply you were deceived. That weight is not yours to carry. Heaven is ruling on your behalf, and the verdict is in. You were faithful. You were chosen. You were preserved. And now, you are being publicly validated for what you endured privately. Type I am anointed to get blessing 8998. There will be a sense of divine reversal in the air. Those who rejected you will watch you rise. The doors that closed will swing open without you even knocking. Favor will chase you in places that once resisted you. This is what it looks like when God repays. The snake thought it could slither away undetected, but the spirit realm keeps receipts. And now, restitution is in motion. What was delayed will be delivered. What was withheld will be multiplied. You will recover all, not because you demanded it, but because heaven decreed it. Still, justice is not about ego. It's about purpose. You must remain humble in this rise. Don't bloat. Don't retaliate. Don't seek applause. Let God finish what He started. Those who need to see your rising will. Those who were meant to repent will. And those who tried to curse you will only confirm that you were always covered. This is not personal. It's prophetic. You are being elevated not to prove a point, but to fulfill a promise. Stay focused. Your assignment matters more than your applause. You were raised to rule, not to retaliate. The snake is gone. The chains are broken. The tables are turning. But more than anything, the scales are being balanced. Divine justice is not coming. It is here. And the final act of this season is not just your restoration. It's your release into what comes next. In the last part, we will seal this journey. A prophetic closing to anchor your soul and establish your next chapter. Get ready for the final words of this message. What was broken is now whole. What was hidden is now revealed. The deliverance is complete. Type I am repaid to get the blessing 9422. It is finished. What began as an invisible war has ended with a heavenly victory. The snake that slithered in quietly, feeding on your purpose, your clarity, your peace, it is gone. Not wounded. Not silenced. Eliminated. Archangel Michael was not sent to negotiate. He was sent to destroy. And destroy it he did. You are not the same person you were before this message began. The weight you carried has been lifted. The fog you fought through hath been cleared. The war is over, and your name has been written into victory. Now begins the rebuilding, not from scratch but from truth. You are not damaged, you are delivered. You are not lost, you are located. You are not late, you are aligned. The heavens are smiling on you again, not because they ever stopped, but because now you can feel it. That ache in your spirit has been replaced by fire. That heaviness hath been traded for holy confidence. You will never again carry what heaven already canceled. You will never again bow to what Archangel Michael has already crushed underfoot. You must walk from here with courage. You have divine permission to speak boldly, to love freely, to create fully, and to live without apology. Your discernment is sharp. Your gifts are reactivated. Your voice is thunderous in the spirit realm. The snake didn't just fear your potential, it feared your full awakening. And now that you're awake, you must not go back to sleep. Keep your space clean. Keep your heart pure. Keep your spirit alert. You are now a guarded soul under divine surveillance. No weapon formed against you will ever prosper again. This message was not coincidence. You were led here, drawn here, anointed here. The voice that tried to keep you quiet has failed. The spirit that tried to mute your worship hath been shattered. And the timeline that once ran from you is now catching up to crown you. Go forward now, not as a survivor, but as a seer, a breaker, a warrior. You don't have to fight anymore. Heaven has already declared your victory. All that remains is for you to walk in it, fully, freely, unapologetically. The battle is over. Your deliverance is sealed. If this message is piercing your spirit and helping you step into divine truth, consider giving a super chat or super thanks today. Your support of $20 helps us continue creating powerful, prophetic messages like this one. We are grateful for every seed you sow. Also, if you'd like to support what we do, you can make a difference by donating via PayPal using the support here link in the description of this video. Every contribution helps us keep creating and sharing more with you. And be sure to subscribe to this channel if you haven't yet. You'll receive regular prophetic guidance, exclusive content, and spiritual tools to keep you aligned with your divine path. Type I'm delivered to get the blessing 9,999. Up it and walk forward. This was your turning point. Demons feared this day. What heaven ordained it. You are free now. Rise and stay risen.